Hi guys, my name is Henry Tenby and welcome to this edition of Model Moment. In front of me is a fabulous 1950s era Douglas factory model. It's a Douglas DC-6. It's in 1/72nd scale. It's a two-piece DFM model, and I acquired the model through a good friend of mine, and it was restored by myself into the condition that you see. So in this video, we're going to talk about this very cool model. So let's do the round robin tour. It is a typical model of the Douglas factory model shop in the 1950s. These models were produced in-house. Douglas decided that they would produce their own models, and they tooled up a shop to produce these models in various scales of all the Douglas produced aircraft of the day. And they were used as giveaways to airlines and the military to promote their models. It was rumored that every registration of aircraft built at the Douglas factory had a model attached to it. So, for example, the U.S. Air Force took delivery of I don't know how many 124s or C-118s, but every single unique tail number had a factory model that was given to the unit chief or crew chief of that particular airplane. And so is not the case with the airlines. We're not sure that the airlines got a model for every single tail number, but they certainly did get a representative model. So this is a National Airlines, Airline of the Stars, DC-6B in 1/72nd. And as you can see, it is beautifully finished. Well, this is how the models came out of the Douglas factory. They were brand new, metal's metal, right? And, polished like that. This is how they delivered them. The props are replacement props that I got from Gary Field, and the cores were turned for me by Gary Field as well, because the cores that are inside those nacelles didn't actually come with the model when I got it. So I had to have them manufactured. But I did the paint job myself, and it's crystal. There's a very high crystal clear lacquer coat on it, and I paid special attention to the tail because I don't know if you can see it, but the metal leading edge was very important for me to get that nice and accurate. So yeah, look at the model. She's a hefty piece, and definitely she presents nicely. The 1/72nd Douglas factory models were actually probably produced in lesser quantities than the 1/50th models. And they're harder to find. And you would think that, well, it's 1/72nd scale, it's worth a hell of a lot less than 1/50th scale just because it's so much smaller. But that is not really the case. A 1/72nd Douglas factory model in absolutely beautiful condition like this is going to be up there close to the 1/50th models, just because they're so rare and hard to find, and collectors really do put a premium on Douglas factory models. It's all about how good the model looks. Finding an original condition model from the 50s like this is going to be 100% impossible. You can find a mint condition Douglas factory model from the 50s, but it just won't look like this, just because the clear coat, the paint will have aged, and the metal surface will oxidize and naturally attract dings and fingerprints and other forms of corrosion over the last 70 years since the model came out of the shop. So there is a difference in how a restored model presents to how an original model presents. And some collectors don't even collect refinished models. I'm not one of them. I respect that decision, of course, but I would much rather have a beautiful model that looks like this that's been restored than a model that's all ratty and the decals are all off and the wings are bent and dented. That's not something that I personally want to have displayed in my collection. A model like this that's been restored to this grade will, if it's looked after, it should be able to remain in a collection and be enjoyed for the next 50 to 75 years, if not longer. Just because they're metal, they last forever, and I do talk about that in my book. Speaking of which, if you'd like to learn more about Douglas factory models and the history of these models and the various aircraft types that were produced by the Douglas factory model shop, I have a very extensive chapter written about the Douglas factory models in my book. So my book is the Aircraft Display Collector, Investor, and Appraisal Guide. It's a new book that I have self-published very recently. You can purchase it on my website, henrytenby.com. And for those of you that don't have it, you'll find 160 pages, all color, covering all the manufacturers of aircraft display models. And I talk about the production lines of each maker and the values of the key models of each of the makers. And as I said earlier, the Douglas factory model shop is well represented in its own chapter in my book. So check it out if you don't already have it. This model is one of the few 1/72nd models that I have by Douglas. I have a couple of DC-8s as well, which I'll be featuring in later editions of Model Moment. And I'm wondering if you have any 1/72nd DFM models in metal. I don't think the DFM models from the 1950s of the classics, the DC-3, 4, 6, 7, C-124, C-133, the DC-8 were ever produced in plastic. I believe all the 1950s productions of Douglas of these kinds of models were produced in cast aluminum, as this model is, on the original factory metal Douglas base. So this is the style of base that was supplied by Douglas, and they're valuable in their own right. These stands, well, to have one recast is going to cost you about $300 if you can find somebody that can do it for you. So by not having a stand, that reduces the value of a model by at least $300, in my personal opinion. You can't just go out and find these stands and buy them for $75. If you could, I'd be buying them all day long. So that is an important component of the model. And the model, as per all Douglas factory models, has a removable wings. There are two screws that remove, and the hollow cord fuselage lifts up off of the wing section for easier transport if that's required. So again, the props that I have are replacement props that I got from Gary Field. They're cast in, they're made out of soft aluminum, and that's you could go with plastic spinners, which I've done on other models, and just turned aluminum hubs. But in this particular example, I wanted to go for the propellers. So again, that's a matter of personal taste, actually, and there's no right or wrong with that. How big is this model? Well, it's like that. So I've got my trusty ruler, and we'll put her up against it. That is 1 foot, and 1 foot plus another 7 inches. So you're looking at 19 inches long on the 1/72nd model here, and versus a 1/50th model, which is probably 28 inches long, thereabouts, 27, 26 inches, depending on whether it's a DC-4, 6, or 7. Lockheed also produced their own factory models as well. They were a bit more fragile than the Douglas productions because they were sheet metal works, whereas this is a solid cast aluminum. But they put cores inside the cast in the fuselage bodies to save aluminum and reduce weight, but it's still a good 1/4 inch thick fuselage. And they're quite durable. So there you have it. This is a really nice model. In the comment section below, hi there. On the comment section below in this video, I'd like to see any comments that you have regarding this model. Do you have any 1/72nd DFM models in your collection? I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to see some pictures, perhaps a video. If you'd like to share it, that would be fantastic. So if you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Maybe you could share this video and the series with other friends of yours that are collectors of aircraft display models. The more people we get watching, the better. So any word of mouth that you can share with your friends would be really appreciated. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for watching the show. Happy collecting. I'm wishing you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you next time in our next edition of Model Minute. Thanks again. Bye for now. Happy collecting. Just as a quick side note, some people are probably wondering, how do you polish an aircraft display model that's made out of aluminum? Which product would I endorse? This is the product that I use and endorse. It's called Metal Polish by AutoSol. It's a fabulous product. You can purchase it certainly here in Canada. I know it's available in Europe and in Germany. It was recommended to me by my good friend Andreas in Frankfurt. And this stuff works wonders. It's magic. It's unbelievable. It can restore a 60 or 70-year-old model back to factory condition with a little bit of sweat and grease and elbow grease. And I highly recommend this product. It's called AutoSol. Check it out. You won't be disappointed.